On March 3rd, 2017, Nintendo finally launched the Nintendo Switch, and man, it's been better than I ever imagined that it could be. It's not that I didn't have faith in Nintendo, it's that what they were promising just didn't seem possible, and yet there it is, this handheld thing that's also a console, and it's just more than I ever imagined it could possibly be. The games that are coming out have just been on point. Nintendo's just been making really good business decisions, really good decisions regarding the games that are coming out. They've been doing a fantastic job attracting indie developers, and they're even doing a really good job getting third-party developers on board, especially Bethesda. Like, who knew that we would get Skyrim and Doom and all these other great Bethesda properties on the Switch? I'm not a super big fan of a lot of Bethesda's games, but that doesn't mean that they're not really good games. Wolfenstein looks great. I haven't played Doom, but it looks really good. I'm not a big fan of Skyrim. The point is, that's a really big got for Nintendo, and I'm really excited that it's happening. And when I was thinking about what video I should do this morning, I thought, well, let's look back on the last year and a half of Switch, and let's talk about those highs. Let's talk about what they're doing right. But let's also address some of the bad things. Most of the bad things are nitpicky, I believe, but there have been one or two that have been kind of a big deal. So let's talk about that software library. Nintendo hit the ground running with Breath of the Wild. I can't think of a better way to launch a new piece of hardware. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a fantastic game. If you haven't played it, you need to get your hands on it. The game universally got 10s just across the board, except from Jim Sterling, who very controversially gave it a 7 out of 10. I don't know what the big deal was. He gave it a really good score. He even says he really likes it. And the things that he complains about the game, he's not wrong. The weapon breaking system is not a great system, and I'm not a big fan of it. It's easily my least favorite part of the game, so I don't know what everybody was jumping down his throat for, but he gave it a good score, and he likes the game, and yeah, it brought down the Metacritic score, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Breath of the Wild is an amazing piece of software. If you have not played it, go pick it up. If you have a Switch, I can't imagine that you haven't played it, but if you don't have a Switch and you're looking to get one, go get a Switch, go get Breath of the Wild. It is a phenomenal game. Later in that year, Nintendo introduced a new IP called ARMS, which I really think they were hoping was going to have that fire underneath it that Splatoon has, and it just really didn't catch on like Splatoon did. I enjoy the game. I haven't played it much since that week or two right after it first came out, mostly because I just don't have a whole lot of people to play with, and the online community for it isn't real big. But it's still a really good game. If you can find it on sale for like 30 bucks, I recommend checking it out. Speaking of Splatoon 2, that did come out in 2017, and of course it was a super big hit. The Wii U version was great and really popular considering it was on the Wii U, a system that very few people had. I'm really glad Splatoon 2 was able to give the series a second chance on a system that people seem to really be gravitating toward. It's really nice. Before we get into fall, there were some ports that were coming out on the Switch, such as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and we got a lot of third-party ports, a lot of third-party indie games that had already been out on other systems, like Super Meat Boy's on there, and forgive me if I'm not getting the timeline of this, I'm just kind of going through the indie games that are already on other consoles that are now on the Switch, and Super Meat Boy was one of those. Lego City Undercover got upported to the Switch. That's a really good game if you haven't played it. There was that Bomberman game that came out. I know that's not a port, that was an original game, but it's kind of a low point in the system's history. Konami didn't really do a good job with that, and I understand that's not Nintendo's fault, but it was a Bomberman game, and we were really excited about a Bomberman game, especially since Bomberman Live on the Xbox 360 was so good, and it was just simple, and Bomberman R just wasn't that great of a game. So, I mean, they've improved it a lot since it came out, but, you know, it's just, how do you mess Bomberman up? I don't understand how you mess Bomberman up. Later in the fall, we got a FIFA game that wasn't really the full version of a FIFA game, but the 2K series has been really pushing the NBA 2K games on Switch, and it seems like for the most part, those are the full versions of the game, and so that's really good news. That means third parties are on board, even if they're not 100% on board. We still haven't seen a Call of Duty. We still haven't seen like Titanfall, or we haven't got Battlefield or Star Wars Battlefront. So it's not like all roses out there, but it's good to see that third parties are doing something, even if they're giving us gimped versions of their games like the FIFA series. The final big game on the Switch in 2017 was, of course, Super Mario Odyssey, an amazing game. I haven't decided if I like it better than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I definitely put more time into Breath of the Wild than I did Super Mario Odyssey. That has a lot to do with just how much time I have to play games in general, and also the fact that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is just such a bigger game than Mario Odyssey is. Super Mario Odyssey really brought back the 3D platformer and even added its own twist. In most 3D platformers, you go into a world and you collect whatever it is that you're going to collect, and then you get kicked back out to the hub world and you have to go back in. In Super Mario Odyssey, you go collect a moon, and then you go over here and you collect that moon, you go collect that moon, and you're never made to stop. You can just keep that momentum going. And what's really great about that is it means if you're on the bus and you've only got time to pick up a moon or two, you can hop in and grab a few that you can just see right there on the horizon. But if you've got more like an hour, you can just go into a level and basically get everything in it. You can go over here, and from this moon you can see another moon, and it's a really good formula, and it was great to see Nintendo innovating on this old 3D platformer genre. Let's talk about Nintendo Switch Online, the free Nintendo Switch Online that we've had up until very recently. It worked pretty good. I can say that it seemed to work better than any previous version of a Nintendo Online service, especially the Wii version. Nintendo Wii Connect, whatever it was called, just wasn't very good. The Wii U version was significantly better than what was on the Wii and even on the 3DS, but it still suffered, especially Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers on Wii U Online was just not a great experience. I'm not even sure it was better than the experience on the Wii. It probably was, but not noticeably better. Now, Mario Kart 8 has always seemed to run really well. Splatoon has always kind of run really well, but that Smash Brothers experience was just terrible. But here on the Switch, it seems like things are mostly better, but they're not perfect, and that is because Nintendo relies on peer-to-peer connections. Now, that is something that the Xbox does and the PlayStation does, which I think is kind of garbage considering you have to pay for those. Nintendo is still using peer-to-peer connections even though they are now charging for their online, and that really sucks because that means you're now charging for a service. You're charging for an experience that should be better, and it's not, because when you're on a peer-to-peer connection, your connection is only as good as the worst connection in the chain. So sure, maybe you've got 40 MIPS up, but if a guy you're playing with only has 5, your experience is going to suffer because he's dragging you down. Whereas if you were on a dedicated server, this really wouldn't be an issue. Yeah, you'd have him probably jittering around and ruining the experience a little bit that way, but at least everybody else's connection would be good. There's also the Nintendo Switch chat app for your phone, which I have defended in the past, and I'm going to defend it a little bit here. Most people, especially with cross-network play becoming more and more popular, are probably using Discord or Skype or something like that to do their chat, especially if they're streaming. Yes, you can stream your chat from a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, but it's difficult. It's not as easy as just getting into Discord. So I think from Nintendo's perspective, this is sort of the way that things are headed anyway, so why not just go ahead and do it? Free up some resources on the Switch. I get it. I get the logic. I still think it's crummy that there's not an option for people who don't want to put up with that, who want to be able to just plug a headset into the Switch and call it a day. But it is what it is. I don't think it's as bad as people are saying it is, again, because a lot of people are already using Discord to do this. It's not a great situation. It's not nearly as good as Xbox or PlayStation solution, which is to just have it there, or even Steam's solution. I'm not a big fan of Steam's chat. If I'm on PC, I'm using Discord to chat, but at least Steam has it built in for the people who don't want to go make a Discord and do things that way. 2018's been a little bit slower than 2017, and I think that should have been obvious to most people. Nintendo really came out of the gate pushing hard, really swinging for the fences. You can't last forever. You've got to catch up to your schedule eventually, and we've even had a couple of delays. So Kirby came out earlier this year. It was kind of stupid easy, which if you're a fan of Kirby games, you should know that's just kind of the direction that the series has been going. It hasn't been the case all the time. The Kirby Superstars back on the Super Nintendo is a difficult game. The game on the Game Boy is pretty difficult, and you got the NES version, so Kirby hasn't always been this 2D platformer for babies, but it has kind of become that. That doesn't mean the game's not still fun. I'm enjoying Kirby for Switch, not as much as I do other games. I totally understand the people who complain about it, though. It is way too easy, and I think it would be nice if Nintendo bumped up the difficulty a little bit. Speaking of difficult games, the Yoshi game, which now has a name, Yoshi's Crafted World, did get delayed into 2019. That was disappointing. I've really been looking forward to that. Yoshi's Woolly World was amazing and difficult. Not difficult like unfair, but challenging. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for that game. We'll talk about 2019 here in a little bit, though. 2018 has maybe been a little bit more crowded with ports than most people would like. You had Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, which is a fantastic game. If you haven't played it, go play that game. It's so stinking good. There's also new Super Mario Bros. U, which is coming out, which also has new Super Luigi U, and it's got a few enhancements, which did lead to what is easily going to be the worst meme in the history of memes. Bowsette is just such a disgusting thing. Like, why is that a thing? I hate it so much. I've certainly been buying less stuff for the Switch this year, and again, I think that's just because things are slowing down. We're getting a lot of indie games, which is great. We got Dead Cells, we got Celeste, Undertale, if it's not already out, is coming. We got Hollow Knight. These are all really good games, but they're also really good games that have existed on other platforms, and I own on other platforms. I have Hollow Knight for PC, so I don't really need it. There are a lot of ports. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it is nice when there's more original content, and 2017 definitely had much more original content than 2018 has had. Obviously, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is coming out later this year. That's going to be the big game of the year. I would argue that it's probably going to be bigger than any game coming out on any other system, and that's saying a lot because Sony did have God of War came out earlier this year. Spider-Man just came out. That's really big. Microsoft doesn't seem to have anything coming out, and that's been a really big problem for Microsoft getting those first-party games that are coming out, especially first-party games that are good. Microsoft, just stop butchering Halo. Do that for me, please. So I think Smash Bros. Ultimate is going to be the game this holiday season that everybody is just clamoring to get their hands on. Nintendo's done a really good job letting information come out, letting us know what it is that we're going to get. Normally, I criticize Nintendo for not communicating enough, but with Smash Bros., I think they might actually be communicating too much. It's getting to where when I get a Smash Bros. Game, there aren't any surprises anymore because they've already told me everything that's going to happen. I don't mind being surprised when it comes to content and games. What I do mind being surprised about is what your Nintendo Switch Online service is going to have. Maybe switch that up. Tell me everything that's going to happen about Nintendo Switch Online and hold back some things about Smash Brothers. Can we figure out a way to do that? Since we're talking about Nintendo Switch Online, let's go ahead and just dive into that. It's not good. It's really not good. As I said earlier in the video, you still have peer-to-peer connections, including Splatoon 2. Like, that is a game that needs dedicated servers, and I'm using a peer-to-peer connection when I play Splatoon 2. That's not okay. I get that I'm only paying $20 a year for this service. I am paying for it. Back when it was free, sure, I get it. Have a peer-to-peer connection, but now that I'm paying for it, you should be using that money to be building dedicated servers and have all this stuff ready to go so that the experience is better. The NES collection of games is not a great collection. It's not a bad collection. It's Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda are easily worth the $20 a year that you're paying to have access to these, but the rest of the collection, not super great. I am looking forward to seeing how they improve it. They've also got an issue with latency on those things, and that again comes down to the fact that there are no dedicated servers for these things. Now, I haven't experienced any of this latency, but I have seen plenty of videos of people showing that you hit a button on the Joy-Con or whatever it is that you're using to play the game. The character, it takes a little while for him to jump if you're not the one hosting the game, and that is a problem. These are 2D games on the NES. You shouldn't be having that issue. They need to take care of this, and I think dedicated servers are what it's going to take, and so I hope that they are addressing this issue. Nintendo has recently released a low latency mode for NES Online. I haven't gotten to try it myself, but reports are that it has been making a huge improvement for the people that were having a problem, so maybe this is something that they're going to fix. I do like that this this shows that Nintendo is going to be improving things, and Nintendo's already shown that they're willing and able to do this. Splatoon 2 has been getting better. Even though ARMS is not doing as well as I think they would hope that it would be doing, they are updating ARMS regularly with free content, so they're showing a clear willingness to improve on products and services the longer that they're out. But this is something that I think should have been just in place from the beginning, is these dedicated servers. It's a little ridiculous that that wasn't the case. And yeah, and as I said earlier in the video, Sony and Microsoft do this too. And the solution here isn't to point to Sony and Microsoft and go, well, they do it, so why are you being so hard on Nintendo? The solution here is to point to Sony and Microsoft and go, you're charging $50 and $60 a year for this. There is no excuse. Get dedicated servers for all of these games. Some of it is that EA has to do the dedicated servers for Madden, and that Ubisoft has to do dedicated servers for Far Cry. And that's a little weird to me, because you would think then you'd be paying Ubisoft and EA. You're not paying them to maintain these servers. Maybe it's Microsoft is giving EA some of this money, and maybe Sony is giving Ubisoft some of this money that they're collecting from their online services. I doubt it, but it is possible. Regardless of that, if you're paying for a service, it should be better than it would be if it were free. And if I'm doing a peer-to-peer connection, but I'm paying you for it, what are you actually doing? You're not doing anything. I mean, you're not doing nothing. Obviously, you had to write the code and all that stuff to make this work. But if I go from my Switch to my internet service provider, to another person's internet service provider, to their Switch, I fail to see where you are in this chain and why I should be paying you. Nintendo, I'm paying you for Nintendo Switch Online. We need dedicated servers. We need dedicated servers for Splatoon 2. We need dedicated servers for ARMS, for Mario Kart, for Smash Brothers. This should just be a thing. Make it happen. Fix this. I don't want to end on a sour note. Overall, Nintendo has been killing it. Awesome game after awesome game after awesome game after awesome announcement about a third party getting involved, about getting an indie game. Some of these indie games are exclusive. Some of them are timed exclusives. This is amazing. Nintendo is back. I can't praise them enough for the good decisions that they're making, but man, some of these bad decisions, like with the Nintendo Switch Online, it's not a good service. I'm paying for it because I want the NES games and I want to be able to play online, but it's not a great service. Let's get this fixed, Nintendo. Let's make it 10s across the board. Let's make it the software library is amazing, the hardware is amazing. Now let's make it that the online service is amazing. And you'll probably make it better. I mean, Microsoft certainly has with Xbox Live. Sony certainly has with PSN. These two services weren't the amazing pieces of technology that they are today when they launched. So I do have hope that you're going to fix this, but you've got to do it sooner rather than later, because you're coming out of the gate really, really late. Microsoft has been working on this since the original Xbox. Sony's been working on this since the PS3. You're 3-4 generations behind the other two with the online, so you've got a lot of catching up to do, but I am confident that you're going to fix this. Oh, and the cloud saves only working for certain games? That's stupid. There's literally not a good reason for this. The reason that you gave is a stupid reason. Change it. Get cloud saves for every single game on the Switch. So what do you think about the first year and a half of Switch? Has it been mostly good? Has it been mostly bad? Do you think Nintendo Switch Online is as bad as everybody says it is? Or are you like, you know what? It's really not all that bad. I'm only paying $20 a year and it will get better. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated the video, give it a thumbs down. Make sure you click that subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Follow me on Twitter. I'm always posting my videos over there so that you never miss one. I also have a Facebook page. I am on Patreon, which there's not a whole lot going on over there, but if you would like to support the channel financially, that is a way to do that. I also have an Amazon affiliate link, and I'm a Humble partner, so that's a good way to support the channel by doing something that you already do anyway. I know you buy stuff on Amazon. I know you buy stuff through Humble Bundle. There aren't people out there that don't do this, so just use the links down below and you can help the channel. And of course, the best thing that you can do to help the channel out is to share this on Facebook, share this on Twitter, share it wherever it is you are on the internet. Surely you have some nerdy friend that would like to listen to another nerd on the internet talk about Nintendo. So if you know people like that, please share it. If you don't know people like that, convert them. The only way that they'll ever know that they love Nintendo and that they want to listen to me talk about it is if you put my face in front of their face. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.